Hello there and welcome back. So in the previous video, we have seen how you can create certain actions to whatever you desire for your application in NGRX. And we also saw that in order to create an action, NGRX follows a separate way, a separate path, so that those actions are really understandable and those are differentiated into multiple steps, different steps. Now we also saw that in order to create a so-called action, you need create actions and the props from the NGRX store. And using those actions and using those terminologies, you then create some actions and then finally export them out of those files. Who am I? I'm Siddhartha Verma, and here your host is going to explain you further bits of NGRX in this course. Now let's continue with where we left over here. Now here, as you can see, we have this create actions, props, enums, and everything over here. Now next stage for us comes the reducers. Now if we go to our browser here, after the actions comes the reducers, and the reducers in NGRX are responsible for handling the transition from one state to the next state in your application. Reducer functions handle this transition by determining which action to handle based on the actions type. And you see just now that we created some actions and now it's the duty of reducers to come into action. Okay, now it's a duty for the actions to be in the in this in this race. So let's go to our VS Code. Let's bring up the our old browser where we were having this. Yeah, let's continue. Now, you remember I created this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do export everything from this file, newly created file. Now going to the reducers, here I will then create a new file which says authentication.reducers.ts. And as you would expect, we require something from our @NGRX store. And that something would then be straight away create reducer. Just as a create action, we are now going to create a reducer. Now we also want to import something from our actions. Okay, we also want to grab our actions, but before we do this, we are going to create our auth reducer, where we are going to then create our reducer. And now this is interesting. Now we need to have our initial state. We need our initial state so that we can tell this redux pattern NGRX that yeah, this is our initial state, and on top of this state we want to create our actions. So here we can create our initial state, and our initial state would be something like this, that our username for now is blank, our password is now blank, our is success is now blank. Okay, and is success is now not blank, it's false currently. And then our is error is false. So this is my initial state. Okay, and now this initial state needs to be provided over here. Now this is the first thing what any one of you would do. So, and from here we can export default our auth reducer. So it's a default export from here. Now the major and most required thing for you would be to understand that reducers are where this state will be manipulated so that our UI gets the state bits from this file, from this authentication reducer file over here. This state represents the entire state of our application or for that component. So from here, now I'm first of all going to take our on login action. And here you need to then import another function which is on, because reducers says you need to now provide on what type of action you want to perform the task. So I say that I want to perform my task based on based on so and so action, and it should be, and then what do you get? You get your state over here and whatever action you prefer, and then you want to deal with that thing like this. Let's format our code, and here this state represents to what you have provided as initial one, and the actions represent to what this consists of. Currently this consists of the username and the password. So here, let's say you have obtained something, okay, from here. So what I can do is I can then return, first of all, I need to copy everything from the state. And then if you see, I have all of these properties, what I want to do. Here, I don't want to do anything, but just I'm going to return everything to this state, okay? But if we can go to our actions over here, here I generally speaking, I don't require all of these things currently, but here my property would be is success, okay, Boolean. And here, generally speaking, my property would just be is error, Boolean, just like this, okay. And if I can then go back to my reducers, now I can write some logic for my success one. So it's on login success. What I want to do is on login success action. This one is the action. So you need to have that create action functions built. Here I then get my state, here I then get my action, okay. And here what I would prefer you to is you then return, and what you return is the actual thing. Currently you see in your initial state is success is false, is error is false. But if you know that if you have your login success, then your is success would be equal to the action dot is success, whatever action you pass from your effect. But right now we are not dealing with such actions. That's why this will be my final state. And manually doing, but my is error here would be set to false. Because if this is a success, then there is no point of making the is error to true. It should always be false. Okay, this should always resolve to false. But on the other hand, if you're dealing with on login failure action, then this is quite understandable that when you receive your state, you copy all the properties from state, but now your is, but now on this point, on this point, let's return something from here first of all, like this, and now I spread the state. But here, now what actual things you want to do is it's the state, not the status. Yeah, your is success is definitely meant to be is success is now false, and your is error is set to whatever action dot is error is provided from my effect. So this is how you manage your state here. Okay, this is how you manage your state like this. This is the original version of reducers, how you manage your state. And always you don't something try to do something like this, but here you always try to create an interface for your state, which I can say as initial state, okay, initial auth state. And then you need to supply like what all values can be there. So string username should always be a string. Your password should again always be a string. Then your is success should always be a string, and your is error should always be a string like this. And now this original initial state should meant over here, okay, which is success should be here, is error, and oops, my bad, it should be a Boolean property, and your create reduces value is initial state. Now this is a bit of a TypeScript one. So in this video, we have seen a clear idea how we can create this reducer part. Okay, so this is how you create a reducer where each of your create reducer is just the is entire state management solution for your entire component or application, and where it behaves on initial state. It needs some basic foundation to run on, and then it accepts some on function separated by different commas where we can have different on statements, and on different action it deals with your state. Okay, so this is redux in action, redux in action for the reducers concept. So here till now we have seen two things, combining the actions and the reducers together, and with this I should then export my export everything from my auth reducers page. So that was pretty much it regarding this video. Thanks for watching, and I will now see you in the next one.